10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, and welcome to Dax Chats. In this episode, I'm getting to speak to somebody who didn't start their career in Australia, although they are from Dubbo in New South Wales originally. Katie Jayne spent her time in the UK first. In 2015, she had a duo called Southern Junction, which played main stages like the O2 Arena for country to country, and also the largest country music festival in the UK, Buckles and Boots. She's since returned to Australia and started to pave her way as an Australian solo artist. Her first single, Sunlit Avenue, started her on a journey through to No Shadow, Use Me, and she recently brought out a brand new single, and we're going to talk to her about that today. Dax Chats to Katie Jayne, and here she is. How are you, Katie?
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
No problem. So it's such a long ride for you. Well, no, it's only 5 years, but I mean it's spanned the world. It's not just something that started in Australia. You actually started over in the UK. How was that, going from Dubbo, working in a car wash? I found that out.
Who have you been talking to?
Joe says to say hello. So yes, you went from Dubbo, working at a car wash, all the way to the UK and started this musical journey. Tell me about your time in Southern Junction and how that all started.
Yeah, I've definitely done your research. Okay. I was working in a car wash when I was a little baby, and I kind of just thought that there was something bigger out there in the world for me than just Dubbo. So I took a van and took the seats out, put a mattress in the back, and I drove away. And that kind of started my life of travel, which ultimately led me to the UK. I think that was 2013. I left the country with 4 months notice. I woke up one day and I was like, I want to go to Europe. 4 months later, I lived in England, and not long after that, I met everyone who was going to be instrumental in me actually starting a music career, because I didn't do music before I moved to England. And it's crazy to think, because I was just a country music fan. I went to all the festivals, and then I got to come home after England and actually play some of the festivals. So it was this really cool transition. But yeah, I kind of look at England as my training ground. So with my band Southern Junction, I was pretty clueless. I couldn't play guitar. I didn't know how to sing a harmony. All I knew is that I loved writing songs, and the musicians that I was paired with, it was the perfect fit, because, I got to sort of be right with them and be free and just sort of come up with some amazing songs where I wasn't lead singing. We were kind of as a duo, and it kind of let me test the water, I guess, dip my toes into it. And we went really well, surprisingly.
Absolutely. O2 Arena. Come on.
That was the C2C festival, and then it came to Australia, and I was like messaging the old email. I'm like, hey, have you got a slot for me? No reply. But our very first gig was the Isle of Wight Festival in 2015, and it was headlined by the original lineup of Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
So that was gig number one. We had one song as Southern Junction, and I remember we locked down for 20 hours in the studio, and we wrote a whole EP of songs because we needed original material to perform. Yep. And one of those songs was Sunlit Avenue, which I ended up releasing as a solo artist when I came home.
So when you came home, you started releasing music at home. Now it's a strange journey going from, here's the industry in the UK, which is hard enough to navigate, to let's try and navigate the Australian market. You've bought Sunlit Avenue from Southern Junction and recorded it as your first debut to Australia. And it did very well. I'm very surprised that it did very well. And Jay Sini was instrumental in doing the video clip for that, and that was his very first video clip as well. So it was a whole heap of firsts.
You're all over this. Yeah. Jay and I had written together while I was living in England, and I was I was back home, and Jay had put a post up asking for song collaborators to write with. And it was the night before I flew back to UK on one of my trips home, and I wrote half of his EP that night. So that's how we kind of bonded and made friends. And then when he started getting into videos, I got to be his first. So it was great because it was the first one I got to produce and really organize as well. So, and it looks great. Like for his first one. Yep,
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's been a journey for him over the last, 3 years, and it's been a journey for you over the last 3 years. You've stayed with, with the second video clip, which was No Shadow, you stayed with Jay. No Shadow, talk us through that song, because that was just something really, really different from Sunlit Avenue. So talk us through why the big change.
So with No Shadow, it's the first song that I was able to write on my own. So I'd started learning guitar. Every other song I'd written before that, it had always been a co-write, and someone else was always in control of the music. So No Shadow was something that I co-wrote it with a girl called Alicia Burno down in Canberra. And we were just having a laugh. Like, we're good friends, and we were like, let's, we've done a bit of co-writing. And we started talking about boys, as you do. And we kind of got on this theme of like these guys that kind of like, they just won't leave you alone, and they won't take a hint. And it's kind of like, I'm sick of you following me around like a shadow. Like I don't need no man kind of thing. But yeah, I got to write that on guitar. So it was Alicia and I, when I was playing. So I feel like that was the first step I took into kind of figuring out myself as an artist and what I was trying to say and what my voice was. So that song has a special place in my heart.
Well, it's a very good song, and again, another stellar video clip. I mean, that was probably I think maybe his sixth video clip by then. I know he'd done some in between, but you could see the change in his growth as well. So that was an awesome track, an awesome video clip. You did then a thing now you've been very different in the way of doing things. You've worked with a community of people, and you wanted to stay connected to your community of people. So during this pandemic, you've done some amazing things. It hasn't all been, I've got to play live on Facebook, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. You've actually gone and swung it around and kept your community really involved with what you're doing.
Yeah, look, I love him. The community has been the only reason that I even have a career. I learned, after Sunlit Avenue had some success, but No Shadow just kind of took off. And it was at that point that I realized it's the people that make the difference. And, I started doing weekly lives. We did them for about a year and a half, every Thursday, very consistently. And then COVID happened and everyone was going live. And I was like, and they were doing it better than me. Do you know what I mean? So they had these really great setups and these vocal stuff. Like I just sit there and talk crap for an hour and maybe play some songs. So I had to figure out, how do I give my community something that they're not already getting? And so that's why we've moved onto the Zooms. Every Sunday morning we have coffee and we chat, and I get to see their faces, and it gives me so much joy to do that. But it's also strengthening, the bond that we have. And these guys really have my back, so I'm very lucky.
And I've been on a couple of the Zoom calls. I'm sorry. I can't get on all of them because, the time zone difference. But I have been on a couple, and it's been great to see how those things, how you interact with each of those people. It's like a family. I didn't choose the name, but we're called Kate's Mates. I think it's a little funny, but I let them vote. And with my last track, SOS, even they had full control over that. Like this was before we did our Zoom, so we just have a private group, and I trying to be as open as I possibly can, let them know the exact processes that I'm going through and ask for their opinion. So, it's about transparency. And so I had 2 songs I had written, and I played them both for my community, and they chose which one I would record. Then we took them into the studio, we did lives, and
we showed them the bad stuff, you know, that you don't really want to show anyone because you think, oh, like the bad vocals, like just the bare bones of the song where maybe it doesn't sound that great yet. But then they got to come all the way through the finished product, and we ended up with 2 versions of the song. My producer and I were really stuck. We were like, we don't know which one to pick, and we were paralyzed for 2 months until I remembered, wait, I'll just ask Kate's mates. So we showed them both songs, they got to vote, and they unanimously voted on the one track that we probably wouldn't have picked. So
there you go.
I
think I was part of that process. I remember you doing that. There was a whole heap of stuff. You know, we talked about the 2 songs that you had written and which one was gonna go to production, and then you went and did the lives in the studio, and you did. We saw the bare bones. You know, we saw complete honesty. You know, I've never seen an artist do that. You know, and that's fantastic. And then, yes, as you said, you got caught up with, okay, now we've got 2 versions of this song. Which one comes out? And then you went to, you finally picked it because they picked it for you. And as you said, it was unanimous. And then they also had a lot to do with the video clip for it as well.
Yeah, I actually had Kate's mates in the video, which was really, really cool. We did, I partnered with the Australian Talent and Dance company. Jay did that video as well.
Yes.
And then we invited Kate's mates to come along and be part of the flash mob scene. So they're forever in my video, which is just amazing.
So the other couple of songs, you got the new song out, and there was a song called Use Me as well. We talk about Use Me. There is a song also in between, but it was only out as a video release for your fans. And that was called Like a Man, I know. But Use Me was, again, a very different take on you, and very, very real and very personal. It was basically you were stripping yourself away and just showing your full self. And that must have been hard for you.
That was terrifying. I remember writing this song. It took me 10 months to write it because I couldn't get past the first chorus because the song was so sad and so defeated, and it was how I felt. And then once, you know, I got past that first chorus, it kind of turns around and it takes a little bit of the power back, you know, to the main character. And when I finished the song, I think the whole time I just felt like no one would understand it. And it was so self-indulgent, and it was so like honest because it was a part of my life that just like, you know, it was real, and it was really how I felt. And I think the beautiful thing about that song is I took it to my producer. He loved it. He did an amazing job on the production. Like we had this like 80s or no, this like 90s rock version of it recorded in the studio. I went away. He calls me a few days later and he goes, you need to listen to what I've done. And he sends me the track, and he's just made this big, beautiful track. And then, you know, I was terrified the whole time. And then when I released it, something shifted, you know, it was this cathartic, like, I got to just release all the pain that came along with the song. And then when I had people coming to me and telling me their stories, like people would come to my inbox and tell me exactly what the song made them feel. And it helped me to not feel so alone. And like, I thought I was the only person going through that. I'm not, you know, I'm just like everyone else. And yeah, it was shocking. So to me, it was so cathartic, and I had so much support, and I just really felt like, yeah, I belonged to this community of women and men that, you know, may have been through something similar.
Now, with this brand new song, again, you've sort of opened yourself up again. It's another track that talks about not feeling accepted or not being, you know, accepted for who you are, but who people expect you to be.
Exactly. That's it. That's what it is. And I wrote that in isolation, and, you know, like, I know we're all feeling pretty lonely, but I think with that song, it started off as a frustration. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I be, why can't you love me the way that I am? And because, you know, I've been on a personal journey learning who I am. And with that, it meant that I started being less, you know, less kind of, I don't know, like, what's the word when you sort of like, you go along with everything and you just, yes, sir, no, sir. Like, so I started standing up for myself, and I realized that the world around me was pushing back on that. And so I really had to stand by myself and stand up for myself. And then I was like, but why can't I be loved like this? Why do I have to go back to that? You know, the lyrics are, you liked me when I was complacent. What is it? Better when I was naive, because I agreed and didn't question my place then. Is that what you needed from me? And then you know, it's lonely out here on the outside and I just want to belong. So that's kind of what it is. And it's not about a boy, like, you know, well, it might be about a few boys, who knows, but it's about the world that I'm living in. And I just feel like I don't fit in. But again, I think everybody feels like that. You know, it's not just me that's going through that.
I agree. And I think that this one certainly will certainly get to a lot of people, because it is a strange world. People expect you to be something, you know, like, and it's even with me in the industry I'm in, whether it be as an artist or as a radio DJ or a radio station operator, or, you know, a media person, however you want to look at it, people expect you to be a certain way. And I'm just me. And if you can't accept me for me, then
exactly. I mean, it's a hard thing to stand up and say, because you do get a little bit of pushback. It's what I've been going through, but it does feel like you're supposed to behave and act accordingly. And I don't know, I'm kind of a bit of a rogue, I guess. So lucky I've got my community that supports me, because
don't you think that all artists are rogues, really? I mean, you know,
yes.
I
mean, we chose this in the first place, so
that's the way we are, right? It's just craziness. But I really like that you're bringing out this new vulnerability. It's really refreshing to see the real Katie Jayne, and so these new songs are just absolutely brilliant. Love them all. I mean, I love all of your songs so far, you know, all the way through Southern Junction and right through to now. I do like every song, but these new raw ones where you've actually just opened yourself up and said, this is who I am and this is what, you know, if you don't like it, go away.
No agenda. Like, I'm not trying to be commercial. I'm just like, this is what I felt like writing. So we'll just see what happens.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's the way it should be. You know, we don't need to be a 3-minute wonder on radio, you know, like just to get, you know, or to get Spotify streams. You know, I think the more personal you are, the greater your response will be.
Yeah, and look, it's horses for courses, because I really respect writers that are just, they got those pop hooks, and I love a well-crafted song, like, don't get me wrong, but at the moment I'm just like, it's whatever blurts out, and that's what happens, and we'll just run with it until I decide to go a different direction, I guess.
Well, you know, being vulnerable is one thing. Obviously, you know, if you've got issues to talk about them. That's it. Maybe
I should get a diary. Maybe I should be getting a diary instead.
You could have easily written a song about going down to Planet Country when they were doing the radio show, going home and your car breaking down. You know, like,
this is all things that have happened.
It's true. I followed you for a long time, dear.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. When you brought up the car wash thing, I was like, oh, God, who's he talking to? Because that was a long time ago.
That was just very funny. Look, I know it's a struggle right now, and you've also had to deal with university, as well as COVID restrictions, as well as trying to become an artist. You're juggling a lot of things, and as well as trying to circumnavigate a social media market. You know, like, this is, how do we do this? How do we get the Spotify plays? How do we get the interaction, the reach and everything? And we're all having that same issue with reach right now. But you've managed to do it very well while going through all of this stuff. How have you gone through COVID? I mean, it's been a rough ride for everybody, but how's it been for you?
So at first, I was kind of like, this is cool. This is fine, you know. I mean, as artists, we put so much pressure on ourselves that if we're not always working, then we're not doing enough. And, you know, I had this big planner up on my wall, and 2020 was my year. And then COVID happened, and I was like, okay, that's cool. It's just a little setback. I'm going to start, you know, I'm going to put myself into like a vocal boot camp. My band and I, we're going to get really tight. We're going to get really good because gigs are going to come back and they'll be better than ever. And now it's September, and it like now I'm just like, oh,
and there's
okay.
no Tamworth in January. I mean, you got
that floored. That was it. Once that happened. But, you know, like I'm taking it within my stride. I'm lucky I have university because it gives me something solid to do. And everything in uni, I get to directly correlates with myself as an artist. And it's always got my brain working. So I always feel like I'm kind of at least moving forward. But, yeah, like COVID definitely sucks. Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's not my friend.
Absolutely. So looking forward to God knows when, but let's say 2021, what's in the pipeline for Katie Jayne?
Oh, look, if we get back, I'm just going on tour. I'm never coming home. I'm just going. I don't even care if like I'll go hungry. I'll just go from town to town and busk on the damn street. I don't care.
I tell you now, I do know of somebody that is doing exactly just that. Mr. Kevin Sullivan down on the south coast is renting his house out, putting all the family into a bus, and off he's going on a 7-month tour around Australia.
Perfect. Can I go? I'll be support. I'll be the nanny.
I'll speak to him next week. I'll ask.
Look, it'll come back. And honestly, I shouldn't complain too much because like you said, the social media thing, without COVID, I wouldn't have found new ways to find in my community. You know, like we did this promo before we started my pre-release, and I got to put people's names on my guitar. So this is like, these are all the people that have been supporting me through the digital space. And, you know, I put their names.
Is my name on there?
Did you follow? Did you go? It was a TikTok thing. We did TikTok lives.
I'm following you on TikTok, but I probably haven't watched them.
Yes. Well, we did. We went 2 weeks straight during the pre-release, and every name was they had to follow me on Spotify and then send me a screenshot to my Instagram, and I'd write their name. But how beautiful is this?
Awesome.
Like as a community, I just, you know, they all want me to sell the guitar, but I'm like, that's my good memories. I'm keeping it. But yeah, without COVID, then I wouldn't have been able to find more people and hopefully create more community.
There's good and bad in this whole pandemic. I mean, you know, as I've said numerous times, the Country Thunder Network, Dax Chats, all of that started because of COVID. So and it's been more hugely successful than anything else I've tried to do. So that's great.
I think I love this concept. I think it's really nice. And I think it's really important when we're all isolated, like as artists, as you know, we always meet at festivals and we always get to catch up. And so that's severely lacking. Like I miss our people. Yep. And so when you're doing something like this, like it gives me joy just to see your face, you know, because otherwise I'd never get to see you.
That's right. That's right. Same for me. I love doing it because I love actually chatting to you guys because I don't get to see you because I'm in China.
Well, you come on my Zoom on Sunday.
Oh, look, yeah, you know, your Zoom is at some strange hour. Remember, I'm 2 hours behind you and probably still asleep.
That means it's 9 a.m., Dax, just letting you know. We do it at 11.
Yeah, 9 a.m. I'm just getting up with the baby, so yeah, we still got.
That's right. I remember you were on the Zoom and you were showing your baby was on the Zoom. It was so cute.
Yes, he's sleeping now, so that's why he's not here. It's all good. All right, Katie. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll do it again when your next release comes out because you've got more to say. I know it.
I've already got the next one ready to go, and it is a mean song. So let's chat then, because
looking forward.
It's very different to this one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Katie Jayne, and you have been watching Dax Chats. You can find her brand new song. It is called Why Can't You Love Me on all your major streaming platforms. You can download it from iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all those things. And you can also listen to it on the Country Thunder Network. Just go to our website, which is right there, countrythunder.com.au, and you can request it straight from the player. And better still, you can vote for it in the Country Thunder 20. The form is at the top of the page. I'm your host, DJ Dax, and this has been Dax Chats. And until next time, we are proudly supported by Neon Horse in Stanhope, Victoria. Bye for now.